Hello and thanks for joining us here on Vanguard Live. My name is Morolake Ademiju. A look into the top stories of the daily start on Vanguard. Major leading story says impeachment, APC, Rivers Assembly at war over Fubara and deputy. APC, PDP factions reject impeachment move, drop impeachment threats against governor. INC, IYC urge assembly. PDP spewed as Wike's comebacks Rivers Assembly. Lawmakers accuse governor, deputy of misappropriation. Others vow not to receive 2026 budget from Fubara, adjourned to January 15. ADC monitoring Rivers crisis, yet to take position, spokesman says. Page 5 has that story. And there's a photo story here taken at the Rivers House of Assembly yesterday. Nigeria attracts $14 billion foreign investment in 9 months of 2025. Oxford Dictionary adds Mami water, Mami market, Amala, other Nigerians word into glossary. Bloodbath in Benue. Rival court gangs kill 8 in supremacy clash. Page 7 has that story. Federal government disburses AFCON bonus to Super Eagles, Finance Minister says. Above the banner says federal government directs shipping firms, airlines to submit manifest via national single window. US Senate rebukes Trump over Venezuela. 141 million Nigerians poor while politicians just steal for power, Obi says. And lastly, on the Vanguard newspaper, governors who defect should lose seats, Moghalu says. You can find our story on page 11 of the Vanguard newspaper. Away from the Vanguard into the Punch, major leading story says Rivers in turmoil. APC leaders intervene as Fubara faces fresh impeachment threats. Assembly accuses governor of constitutional breaches, issues 7 days ultimatum. Rivers APC faction, others back Fubara. Page 2 has the story. Lagos Assembly passes 4.4 trillion naira 2026 budget. Ogun teenager boy dies during swimming. And lastly on the Punch newspaper, 2027, Sound leads ADC 21-man Constitution Review Committee. Can find our story on page 13 of the Punch newspaper. Away from the Punch into the Nation, major leading story says lawmakers, why Fubara should go. Page 2 has the story. Above the banner says stock market, 100 trillion naira milestone, sign of renewed confidence. Page 3 has the story. Federal government explains how lowest income earners will pay zero tax. Lagos Assembly passes 4.4 trillion naira 2026 appropriation bill. And lastly on the Nation newspaper, NAF pushes for delivery of 12 fighter jets from the US. You can find our story on page 3 of the Nation newspaper. And lastly, the Guardian is leading with Fubara may meet Tinubu as Rivers row escalate with Assembly probe. BVN enrollment hits 67.8 million. 325 million bank account active. NCAA threatens stiffer sanctions over flight delays and cancellation. Page 27 has the story. Tinubu rallies investors to Nigeria after 100 trillion naira milestones. Tax law. Experts warn of dispute capital flight despite government assurance. And lastly on the Guardian newspaper, federal government to review tariffs for industrial goods, lower production costs. And find our story on page 17 of the Guardian newspaper. And that's all we have for the headlines of the dailies. Join us after the short break for a brief analysis of some of the stories. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Today in the News on Vanguard Live. My name is Morolake Ademiju. A look into our first story of the day. Impeachment. APC Rivers Assembly at war over Fubara and deputy. The renewed crisis in Rivers State. The situation reached at a crescendo yesterday with the ruling All Progressive Congress being at loggerhead with the House of Assembly following the initiation of impeachment proceeding against Fubara and his deputy, Professor Ngozi Odu, over allegations of gross misconduct and misappropriation of funds. The lawmakers convened from their recess that would have lapsed on January 26 to commence the removal process and adjourn to January 15 in a move that has kicked up dust in the polity. The Rivers APC Ijaw National Congress and Ijaw Youth Council were among groups that rejected the impeachment proceedings outright and urged the legislators to resist pressures to destabilize Fubara's government. Specifically, the APC, which Fubara joined recently from the People's Democratic Party, said the governor had done no wrong by not presenting a 2026 budget because the budget passed by the National Assembly for the state during the 6-month emergency rule will run till August 2026. However, there was a sharp split within the PDP as the Wike-backed faction of the party endorsed the process, while the PDP National Working Committee adopted a cautious, watchful stance. Also, the African Democratic Congress said it is closely monitoring unfolding political developments in Rivers State before taking a defensive position on the matter. The Speaker's Rivers State House of Assembly, Martins Amewule, said the decision of the House stemmed from alleged failure of Fubara and his deputy, Udu, to present the budget of the state. The lawmakers alleged that Fubara had refused to allow the Assembly make inputs into the appropriation bill of the state, adding that the offences are impeachable. This was what contained in a motion by the Deputy Speaker of the House, Dumle Mao, and is seconded by Silvanus Nwako. A look at our second story of the day. 141 million Nigerians poor while politicians jostle for power, says Obi. Former Anambra State Governor Mr. Peter Obi has raised the alarm over Nigerians' deepening poverty crisis, saying the country is sliding backward as politicians remain fixated on power struggles and control of party structures. In a statement yesterday, Obi said about 141 million Nigerians, 62% of the population, are now living in poverty, describing the situation as a grave national failure and a threat to the country's future. As we politicians scramble for position and vie for control of party structures, often sharing posts even before elections are concluded, a harsh truth confronts our nation. A staggering 62% of Nigerians, roughly 141 million people, are ensnared in poverty, Obi said. He cited World Bank data showing a sharp rise in poverty levels in recent years, noting that the number of Nigerians living in poverty increased from 81 million in 2019 to approximately 139 million in 2025. According to him, the situation worsened significantly within a single year, as poverty figures rose from 115 million in 2023 to 129 million in 2024, pushing 14 million more Nigerians into hardship. Projection for 2026 suggests that this figure will reach around 141 million, meaning an additional 26 million Nigerians will be thrust into poverty between 2023 and 2026. It is estimated that by 2026, an overwhelming 141 million people, 62% of the population, will be living in poverty. This is where we draw the curtain for today. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms displaying on your screen. And you can also visit us on our website for more interesting stories at www.vanguardngl.com. My name is Morolake